traffic safety. Other committee members also in attendance are Jill Kramer and Aaron Bielman. Other councilmen are Ed Lewis, Jamie Slutz, and Mark Lombardi, and Mike Gray. Purpose and scope of this meeting is the issue of traffic safety is still a forefront topic in our city over the past several years and is a citywide problem comprised of several issues over multiple areas. Today's purpose and goal is to continue to identify the issues, inquiry about viable solutions and the ideas to those issues, implement action to resolve the problems, and assess the effectiveness of addressing these issues. If the effectiveness is not to the majority of the satisfaction of the citizens together, we will then begin the process of formulating solutions again and repeat the process until a reasonable, effective, and safe, viable policy to the issue is found. So, with that said, I wanted to go over what we talked about in previous meetings, as well as roll out a new guide study that was finished not too long ago concerning Lincoln Way West Road, 32nd Street to 17th Street, regarding the possible growth on Lincoln Way. The study was needed for safety and the upcoming growth to the west side. We're also going to address any lake issues that have come up since our last meeting. Go over why we are not allowed to put a guardrail up on Lake past Cooper, and go over possibly why there's the traffic pattern change on 21 onto Lake, why it was changed and then changing back to what it was before. So at this time, if you guys can refer to your packet, the corridor road diet study, it lists 7 different chapters. The last one, chapter 7, the concept, discussion, and conclusion is what I'm going to focus on here. So about a year and a half ago, I approached the administration and asked for a diet study to be done with the anticipation of the school being put in, increasing neighborhoods being built on the west side, and traffic concern safeties with the turn lane at Grosvenor, which I was told was a de-acceleration lane for trucks turning into the Bueller's parking lot, the Mayflower parking lot. I don't know of any trucks that use that, except maybe garbage trucks. So they did a full-blown diet study that we voted on and passed this council, and this was the result of that. As stated in the concept, discussion, and conclusion, in addition to school-related traffic, volumes in this area expected to see a modest increase, further decreasing operational and safety performance of the existing configuration. Moving to the third from last paragraph, a 3-lane section provides a consistent and predictable road section for drivers. The conclusion is the existing road section contributes to the operational safety concerns along the Lincoln Way West Road corridor. The number and concentration of access points combined with the lack of a center left turn lane results in both intersection and driveway related crash patterns along the corridor. So with that said, I have a few questions, and I'd like at this time to ask if Bart Sylvester would be willing to approach the stand here and answer and explain any questions.
Good evening.
Hi, Bart. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
So as requested, we went over this, and basically I'm just wondering if you can elaborate what the administration's viewpoints of this study entail and what the next steps from here are going to be.
Well, you explained it very well, and I think Greg McHugh talked with you, and we know that the Lincoln Way is scheduled for ODOT for the repaving, which will include then the restriping as well. For fiscal year of 2025, which then used to begin that in June of 24. And basically at that time is when and changes can be made to the way that it's set up there without having to do a complete restructure of the roadway.
I do believe that it said due to this unknown school traffic. My question is there any way, I mean, they basically said they didn't know how to anticipate the changes in school traffic. I mean, building a whole new elementary school, or we're just waiting, do we have a timeline of when we're going to redo that study?
Well, the schools won't be finished. I don't even think they're going to begin construction
Right.
for a couple of years, so we probably won't have that for a while.
So my concern is Lincoln Way and 29th. I'm just anticipating with two schools starting relatively close to one another, they'll have to, I think it said somewhere in here, there's going to have to be another additional study done after the school is built to change that intersection.
And we can do that specifically for that area and that intersection.
Okay.
And probably would also look at it at the opposite end of the Millersburg Road and where the traffic comes in from that section also.
As far as the garage winner turn lane, I believe Greg said that that would be eliminated due to this. Is there any way that we can expedite getting that taken out of, or expedite that getting taken care of? And the only reason why I bring that up is because about 3 weeks ago, I pulled up into my neighborhood right at Grosvenor and Lincoln Way, and there was a multi-car accident involving another pregnant woman. And my concern is I know that there has to be, per the state guidelines, so many accidents within a intersection in order to put up a light or some kind of a warning. I pretty much, I don't see a need for that turn lane. I never have. I know that Greg said that we had to have it as a deceleration lane.
Because of the traffic patterns.
Well, like I said, the trucks all deliver in the front, they turn in the main entrance. I don't know of any trucks that actually use that as the acceleration lane other than the garbage trucks. What I'm trying to prevent here, I mean, this is the second accident that we've had, and ironically, the other one also involved a pregnant woman. I just don't want to see somebody get hurt there. So is there anything that we can do to get that lane removed as soon as possible?
I can check with you and Alex,
Okay.
and I can also pull the accidents. That's why the change was made, because of the number of accidents at 23rd and Lincoln Way.
That was June 21st. I can't give the exact time.
Oh, I can just pull them for that intersection.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can just pull them from
June
there.
21st.
Yeah. The traffic pattern was changed when we had had so many accidents at 23rd and Lincoln Way. I believe it was 9 in 1 year.
Okay.
Just a lot.
I've also had multiple requests to bring up a light again at that intersection.
Okay.
What would it take to have a light go back there?
Well, it wasn't included, it wasn't recommended through that safety study that was done, the diet study that was done.
So due to the study, we can't put a light up there? Or we can't consider it?
It's not warranted. Anything that's warranted in the study is what we have to go by. If we make changes to that, we could be liable then if it's not warranted.
Make a quick note of that. All right, this time I'll open up to any other members of the committee or council for any questions due to the study. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chief. Ms. Sylvester, real quick, you just made a statement that a light there could subject us to liability. Did I hear that correctly?
don't follow what the study warrants for any study, safety study that we do. You
Even
have
if
to
we're
follow what is recommended. There was a light there before, you may not know that, but
Okay,
there was a light there once before, and it was warranted to remove that light. And that
okay.
goes back quite a few years ago.
Warranted, I'm trying to get the justification. So removing the light help prevent accidents or something? When you say,
They did a full study, actually, that was paid for through ODOT quite a few years ago. And through that, it was recommended that the light at that intersection to be removed.
okay,
And the stop sign put on Rosener coming out onto Lincoln Way.
okay. But with
And
regard
we
to,
take the recommendations, basically, what they've given us, what is warranted to do at intersections or traffic pattern flows.
understood, the word liability kind of threw me there.
Well, if we don't follow what they give us there, and we decide to do something on our own that is not their study given to us warranted, that this is what we should do at intersections or traffic flow, or any of the information that they give us, then we basically are just saying, we decided to put this here.
So if they say that we don't need extra safety precautions at an intersection, it's not warranted, and we put those in, and there are less accidents, I guess I'm not understanding the liability aspect of it, but that's okay. I did have a couple other
We're
questions.
not knowing how many accidents are there at this particular time, even.
Right, okay. The other thing I was wondering about, now it's on the sheet, it hasn't been brought up directly, but with regard to speeding issues, okay? I guess the main question is, what's our police department at staff-wise now, percentage?
Our total staff is 44 officers right now,
Out of,
and
what's
we're
our,
budgeted for 50.
so we've been increasing that, correct?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so we're at 44 out of 50. I remember, I think it was Chief St. Roy was in here and made a statement to the effect of, once they get at full capacity, we're going to see more stops, more speeding citations, something along those lines, or more patrols, I guess.
Yes, and they are at this particular time, they're continuing their traffic enforcement.
Okay,
They have been focusing heavily right now on Bird Avenue,
okay. What kind of numbers?
11th Street
Okay,
is the other one. We're having cut-throughs from Wales Road. And so they're there. The traffic enforcement additional patrol is always there. It's for Lake Avenue,
okay.
Main Avenue.
Have they been
and
issuing
Tremont,
many citations?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
I do hear them come across my radio. If you want to get some exact numbers, I can get that for you. But I know Friday morning, they had, within about an hour and a half, from about 7:15, I heard come across the radio till maybe about 9:30. Don't hold me to the exact time, please. But, yeah, they issued 4 tickets and 2 warnings.
That's great. I'm of the opinion that seeing people pulled over sticks in your mind, and even if I saw something a week ago, I'd probably be slow. Hopefully more citizens are like that as well. So that's all for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvester. Any other further questions about the Lincoln Way diet study on 17th or Thursday? Mr. Lewis?
I recommended this last time it came up. I don't know if it's feasible, but if there's concerns about, the right lane being a turn only as you come close to Girl Center, if you're going westbound on Lincoln Way prior to 17th Street, it's only a single lane of westbound traffic, and then it opens up to 3 lanes. You have a permitted left turn, you have a middle lane that's straight, and then you have a right lane that's straight toward me, a right turn. Why couldn't you just make that right lane a turn only, so that way all the through traffic stays in a single line like it was all the way from 7th Street to 17th Street anyways, and it keeps them there. They don't even end up in the right lane to cause the confusion 2 blocks up the road.
So right lane at 17th.
And Lincoln Way West, you just make that a right turn only, and then all your
All
throughbound
the way up
traffic
to it.
just stays where it needs to
Ask
be
them to
anyways.
look at it.
It just seems to make sense to me. Why give them the option to get into the right lane and then have to get back
Lake Avenue issues. I know last time we had several discussions or issues brought up from Mr. Lombardi, but that is in his ward primarily. We brought up possibly putting a guardrail on Lake, we did, but a constituent over there brought up the possibility of a guardrail on Lake. We've answered this multiple times, why this is not allowed. He also wanted to know why 25 miles an hour wasn't strictly enforced on Lake or any street maps, on which, again, that was probably worded a little poorly on his part. Because it is enforced, as we're seeing it now, clearly with 11th Northeast got handled pretty well. But I don't know if you, would you be willing to make a comment on that, Mr. Lester?
Yes, I can. Did you have something you wanted to add first?
The strictly enforced, when you have a sign that says the speed limit and underneath strictly enforced, that means 25 miles an hour is 25 miles an hour. 26 would be a ticket. That's what he was referring to on that, and that's what he wanted to see on Lake.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Okay, so we began, well, I should say ODOT began, not the city, but ODOT began in our city a Lake Avenue study. They began this in late 21, actually early 2022. And they hired it through Jacob Solutions is the company that they use. So I did forward that study to you and also to you. And so in that study, they went through the traffic flow pattern at every intersection on Lake Avenue, actually beginning from Lake and Wales all the way to 21 in Nevada Road. That's where the study began. And then as they go through their scoring matrix, and they get through the scoring matrix, all of the formulas and facts that they put together, then they come up with basically what they title their potential locations for the full safety studies. And so the intersections that qualify to go to the next phase, which is the current phase that Jacobs is in at this time, is the intersection of 21 and Lillian Gish Boulevard and Lincoln Way, the intersection of 21 and Walnut Road, the intersection of 21 Lake Avenue and First Street. So as I said, these are the 3 locations that advance to the next phase of the study, and Jacobs is currently conducting that study at this particular time. So they now take it further from the original study begins with their review and research on how many accidents, what type of accidents. They have all these formulas that they use. So now that they've advanced these intersections forward, now they go out through and they basically put together what can and should be done for those improvements. So it's basically the same thing that happened with Wells Road. Wells Road, that safety study, many of you remember how many years ago that actually started. And again, that was because of their studies that they did, the factors that they put in, how many accidents were there, how many rear-ending accidents happened on Wells Road. And then from there basically is when they start to put together what they can do, what the project is, where they get the funding from. That project's over $9 million. So it does take some time. It doesn't just, happen within a few years even. It takes quite a few years. So that is currently where that study is. And like I said, it did begin on Lake and Wells Road. So that's where that is at. And then the other update that I will give to you, that I give to Councilman Sneeden, is this evening in the packet is the request for legislation for the improvement of the Lake and Amherst intersection. And that's another project basically that our engineering department has been working on for quite some time as well. You can see from the attached detail sheet that I put with it, there is a lot that goes into the preparation of that and preparing it, exactly what all needs to be done. all of the legislation and guidelines that we do need to follow. But we do need to get ADA curb ramps there. We'll put the mass arm signals in there and do a new complete layout there just to get the intersection improved and safety for pedestrians. That is an intersection that, as we all know, there's a lot of traffic, and there's also a lot of pedestrians to the plaza that's there.
Okay,
I think that's all the updates that I have for Lake Avenue.
I was brought to my attention that there was a traffic pattern change at the intersection of 21 North, making a right onto the lake. They changed it for about 3 weeks and then changed it back. I know that's pretty much out of the scope of the administration and deals probably more with the state. Are you aware of why they would do that?
I'm not, where did you say it was at?
21 North, making a right onto
In
the lake.
Lake.
Yeah, this was probably they changed it back about 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure why they changed the traffic pattern, but it only lasted for about 2 or 3 weeks, was my understanding. But if you can follow up on that and maybe shoot me an email. I just had a question. Somebody asked me a question about it. The other question I had, Mr. Lombardi and I brought up, was the chevrons that were on Lake heading west, right past Kruger. There was just one put up. Is there a reason? We brought this up last streets meeting. Is there a reason why we couldn't put more?
One piece that was with that also was that there was a speed limit sign that did get removed through one of the accidents. So we did put the speed limit sign back up. That one was missing. We do have the blinking light there, the flashing light actually, for the curve and the chevron. So at this point, there isn't anything that we feel that we are required to do. When we look at the manual that we use, the Ohio Department of Transportation manual, under the clear zone, we have met all those requirements, and there's no further action that we need to do there. Some of the other concerns or issues we could have with that is, again, we're putting those on the people's right away. It's going to be their responsibilities to weed eat around them, take care of them. And so, as I said, it's not a requirement at this point or needed to be there.
At this time, I'll open it up to the rest of the council. If anybody has any further questions about studies or anything going on in the lake. And seeing, Mr. Lewis.
We don't need an answer right now, but the next time we discuss this, I would like to hear more about what we can do as far as like speed tables or other methods to help control speeds through neighborhoods. I've gotten calls again from the Woodstone, Langdale area of constant speeders, and it just seems like that would be a good fix. My travels this summer, I was in Indiana, in Townsend, Indiana, had this in their neighborhoods. And in the past, we've been told, oh, you can't plow with them. Well, Indiana gets snow too, so there must be a way to get around it. So I'd just like to hear a little bit more about what we can do to help get some passive control, because officers can't get back in their neighborhood, so there's got to be some passive methods.
Fair enough. Mr. Lombardi?
Just to expound on what Mr. Lewis said, Akron has been installing speed tables. They did a test run on one, I can't remember which road, but now they're going to be installing them throughout the state. So that will maybe, you might be able to check with them and see how they work around their snow plowing.
And if I can make a suggestion, I believe Mr. Burgasser has already looked into this as well, so he might have some input and some reasoning of why we can and can't do it. I mean, we should be able to do it, I would think. But, all right, anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Sylvester, Mrs. Sylvester, for stepping up and answering all our questions. I appreciate it.
One other update that I will give you, it was brought up at the last meeting, if you recall, in regards to 17th Street and Cherry Road. And so I will just let everyone on council know, I know I did send this to Councilman Sneed, but we do have on our website that you can go out there and see, as all of you know, we go through stats, you know, for so much of our traffic that we do, our roadways that we do. And so we have put out there the Moving Start Forward 2050. So I just printed a couple pages here, but it's, the document itself, I think, is about 100, and, I think I put the email, 170 pages. So if you want to go out there and get the electronic version of it, you can go out there and read that. But for instance, things, you know, those are items that we do look forward to addressing in the future. But that particular intersection would be something through, it would be through the county, Perry Township, North Lawrence, and the city. So that would be one of those projects that could be considered there. But basically, that's something that's not looked at really until like the year 2030, because of all of the projects that are out there through scouts. But just if any council members want to review that, that is good information that's out there through the Stark County Area Transportation.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
And that will conclude our meeting at this time. We got about 2 minutes if anybody needs to use the restroom or anything like that, and then we'll begin our work session. Thank you.